It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Magical day to all. Welcome to Divas That Care Network. I am Joyce Benning, and I will be your host for this magical, robust lifestyle show. I would like to thank all of our listeners that are listening to this podcast on the numerous different platforms. I am so very grateful and thankful for each and every one of you. And you are all in for one extraordinary show today, as I have with me two returning divas, and I am so excited. I have Regina Curtis and Dawn Phoenix with me today, and the three of us are going to chat about gathering wisdom in the spaces between. So with that, Dawn and then Regina, would you like to just briefly introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Yes. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Regina. So happy to be here with you today. I'm Dawn Phoenix, and I am an intuition ignition catalyst. And what that means is I connect people to their wisdom and then help them do things with it in their lives.
I love that.
I do too.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So that leaves me. I'm Regina Curtis. I am a soul rhythm activator. And what that means is that I help you tune into the rhythms of your soul and then align your life and your business with that rhythm for more ease, joy, and prosperity. And I'm super excited to be here with both of you. We've both had conversations before individually, and now we get to bring this party all together in one space, and it makes me so happy.
Oh, and it does me too. I am so thrilled to have both of you on here. And I love it, Dawn, that you connect people to their wisdom because it is inside of them. It's just bringing it out. And I love, Regina, how you tune into the rhythms into their soul because, that is beautiful also. So with that, I'll let whichever one of you would like to start to share about gathering wisdom in the spaces between. And you two just take it off from there, and we will share with our listeners today.
I can start. I think it's appropriate to mention that even though this may not be the date when you're listening to this, the date we're recording this is actually on the summer solstice. And the solstice is a significant date for me, especially in my work, because it is through the seasons and cycles of nature that I learned about the rhythm of my own soul. And it is the framework through which I connect people with that rhythm in their own. So internally, everyone has a cycle of development that they go through each year. And it begins at their own internal spring equinox. And each time you pass into a new season, you move into a different stage of evolution. Within that stage, there's different phases of development. And you can see that in nature. And the points where we move through those different stages of evolution in the external energy is the seasonal transition. So the spring equinox, the summer solstice, fall equinox, and the winter solstice. So it's significant that we're having this conversation on this day, and I wanted to bring that to light. And when Dawn and I were first kind of chatting about it so happened that this was the date that it fell on that we were going to have this conversation. And we both lit up about that and were excited about it. And so when we started tuning into, well, what is this conversation want to be? Like what information wants to come through, what wisdom wants to come through. It was noting that the solstice and the equinox, externally and internally, those are transitional points. But there's so much that happens in between. And all of that wisdom, it is really like the point of the journey, right? It's the process, is the place where you get to enjoy that journey. And then these transitional points become the landmarks. So I'll kick it off with that, and I'll throw it to you, Dawn, to elaborate and add to that.
Oh, yay. Thank you, Regina. Yeah, so it was so very interesting while we were talking, these little tidbits were dropping in as the universe is wont to do. And so I started getting all of these beautiful images of examples from our lives of the places where the space in between is where some of the most beautiful juiciness is in our lives. And so one example that I got was the universe showed me two bookends, and in between the bookends were a series of books. So this was actually a twofold kind of a download here. So we've got the books in between the bookends, and there's all of that wisdom and entertainment and beauty and sadness and everything wrapped up in each of those books in between the bookends. But then also on top of that, buckle up, because that's how the universe works.
It's always a fun ride with the two of us, right? The three of us, I should say, actually. Yeah.
And so like each book has its own story, if you will, in between the cover, the pages. And so we can even peel it down, to that level. And so it's not the markers are there, the solstices, the equinoxes, things like that. They're the markers. But if you think about them as bookends, then we have to go, ooh, what's in between? What stories and what is there to be gathered in the in between places?
I love that so much.
I do too. That is just a beautiful example, because I can just see all our emotions, all our happenings in each one of those books. And like you said, in between the book covers. Oh, I just love that. And I love, Regina, how you said the cycle of nature of our own souls. And Dawn just kind of brought that in with the bookends and the visions of the books. And oh, that is just beautiful. And I also wanted to add to the listeners, the universe knew that today was the day we needed to share all of this, because it is so fitting. So, okay, that is my little tidbits.
Beautiful. So I'll pick it up from there. I think this is a beautiful example, and it is really what I help people embody, right? Like what Dawn was saying is there's this structure. So the bookshelf, right, may have a certain set of books on it. The bookends that are holding together this certain set of stories that go together for whatever reason. The book itself is a container for a specific experience. You can even bring it down to each chapter, each page, each word has its own experience. And that is exactly what you experience as you're moving through the journey of your own life. So each day, each week, each season, right, all have its own experience, and yet it is a part of this greater storyline, right? It is a part of this greater lived experience that you have. And so there's so many beautiful ways to metaphors that Dawn and I were exploring when this topic came through. And I love that one so much, because it really does talk about, I said there's a phase of evolution that happens within each of the stages that you move through between the seasons. And it's like having three different books, right? Each book has its own theme. It has its own storyline. And then within that, you get to have a whole adventure of itself. I think I'm going to start using this example when I talk about my work, because it's so profound in how it's such a tangible, useful example. The other example that came through when we were talking was a prism of light. And so when a prism, let me say it this way. When a light beam hits a prism, right, you don't see all the colors that are in it. You just see the white. And I like to explain a lot of times the difference between pigment and light. Pigment, I have an art background, in case you were wondering. When you put all of the pigments, all of the colors together, and you mix them together, you get black. The absence of pigment is white. In light, when you put all of the colors together, you get white. And the absence of the light is the black. And so it's a really beautiful way of kind of understanding how those two things work. So what a prism does is when the light hits the prism, it actually separates all the colors of light so that you can see them individually. And they each get to shine in their own light, in their own brilliance. And it's another way that the structure can really illuminate the wisdom that exists within a larger experience. So I'll throw that one back to the two of you, whoever wants to pick it up. But I'd love to explore that example as well, because I think that's a really beautiful one.
Well, Dawn, I'm going to quick say, when you said that about the prism of light and the different colors, I just got the chills because what came over me, what they sent me was it's letting your light shine in your own
Yes.
individual way. And each one of us has those colors to let shine. So
I love that. Also, I have to note, I know the listeners won't be able to see this because it's audio only, but we're on video together. And Joyce, you are positively glowing right now. There is literally like light shining all, you're radiating. So just wanted to note that.
Thank you. I feel it.
You're prismatic.
You are prismatic. Ooh, I love that.
Ooh, okay. So what just dropped in with that, because this is how we go, just
Yeah.
a minute here,
Uh-huh.
was that we can act like prisms for each other.
Mm.
So we can
Say that again. Hold on. That needs more space.
Uh-huh.
yeah. Graciousness. We can act like prisms for each other.
So beautiful.
Yes, that
Yeah.
is
So
beautiful.
what I was getting with that was the light was on Joyce this whole time. And it's not that it wasn't there, but when you said something is when I realized it and I went, oh my gosh. So when you illuminated her illumination, then that illuminated it. And I'm using these words, the same word all the time for a reason.
Yep.
For me. And so it's like we are who we are, but sometimes it's not readily apparent, or those beams of light, they haven't been broken down yet, or they're not
Highlighted is the word I keep getting, right? Like bringing something to the attention to the surface. And like I was picturing like a highlighter in the books, and I was like, it's a different understanding of that word than I've ever really thought about it before, is like bringing it into its highest light, right? You're elevating that piece for a certain reason. So when you are the prism for someone, right, you are highlighting them, you are illuminating their highest essence of their light, which is their unique brilliance, their unique color. Sorry to jump in there, but that was just like pouring through me. So I was like, hold on, I've got the word.
And I love what you did, highlighting, like
Yes.
boom.
Boom. So fun. Yeah. And on this solstice, right, where depending on where you are in the world, in the northern hemisphere where we are, right, we're at the height of light. We are at the point in the year when there's the most access to the light. And think about what happens in the summer, right? Like the plants are all at full bloom, and the babies that were born in spring are like comfortable in their bodies and playful and joyful and young, and like there's a lot of really like fun, energized, playful energy that happens in the summer. And if you're in the winter solstice right now, then what's happening is the not the opposite of that, right? But the completion of that energy. And so just like I was talking about with the pigment and the light, what happens, the absence of the light, is when you get to rest, when you get to process, when you get to, integrate all of that and bring that back inside so that you're fulfilling the purpose of all this experimentation and refinement and all of the things that you've done throughout the year.
And I'll jump in on the other end of that, thinking back to books, because I have a degree in English, English major. So, of course, I'm going to nerd out on the book thing, right?
Please do.
So I was thinking two different things. So to the point you were just mentioning, where the winter is where we integrate. If you think about winter as the integration piece for us, when we read a book, that is that quiet time where we've been productive, maybe in another part of our day, and we're taking that quiet time to ourselves to just integrate either our day and just relax and let it work in the background, or to integrate what we're reading. I mean, we don't always read necessarily, for pleasure. Sometimes it's for work, but there's that whole piece of that winter integration period, and then the book as an integrative tool.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the other thing I was thinking was with the book thing a little earlier was when we were talking about highlighting, Joyce. We're going back, on that bookshelf. The book is there. The book has all of its secrets, all of its wonder inside, but it's not highlighted yet until someone picks it up. The value is not fully realized until someone picks it up and actually starts to explore it and really dive into it. And that's the same thing with people. We're books and we have value, which isn't, I'm not saying we don't. So I want to backtrack here. We have value, whether or not, anybody recognizes it. But like books, we have our stories, and it's beautiful when we are highlighted by other people, and then our stories come out, and it helps us relate to each other and actually build a bigger collective story together. Every character in our lives can do that with us and for us, just as we can do with and for them.
I love that.
That is so beautiful, because what came to me earlier, and it came back again, too many of us hide in the background. We feel small, and we are not letting that beautiful light that is inside of us shine. So I just wanted to add that in, because I feel, and especially in women, I think they have a tendency to pull back and don't let that light shine that they've got inside of them to share with this world to make it a better place.
I completely agree. And, I work mostly with entrepreneurs. And so my brain is constantly processing in that space, right? And women entrepreneurs, especially, and those who have gifts that are a little more subtle, or a little, what I always say, like, embrace your weirdness, right? Like the things that make you weird, or that you think make you weird, or somehow somebody labeled it as that, or maybe you took on that label yourself because it was different. That, thinking of each of our stories as the unique book that somebody gets to experience, rather than being like, oh, well, this is different than that. If we could think about ourselves in that way, that somebody out there is so excited to read that book. Somebody is so excited to learn from what you have to share, or to experience it, or go on that journey with you. And it is, like you said, Dawn, intrinsically there. Like the value is there no matter what. However, it's only experienced when it's shared.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And whose life will you change, or whose life will you enhance when you share what you have inside of you to share? So yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
And that's, I mean, no matter what, you don't have to be an entrepreneur for that, right? Maybe you share that through being a mother. Maybe you share that through being a friend. Maybe you share that through being an artist, or, doing social work, or, whatever it is that you do. Maybe it's just through gardening, giving back to the earth. There's so many ways that can be experienced. And I think that goes back to our theme, which is experiencing the wisdom in the spaces between, because it is in those more subtle moments, honestly, and most of the time, that the wisdom is actually transferred, right? It's when the wisdom is received through you, and when you share it through you. And it's, sometimes we get up and we actually, share our thought leadership on a platform, or we, put it into a program, or we share it through some kind of creative endeavor. However, most of that process of communicating that wisdom and receiving that wisdom does happen in those more subtle moments.
Right. In the stillness.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Dawn, I know you have another commitment that these minutes have gone so quickly.
So quickly.
Very quickly. So Dawn, I know you need to run to your next commitment. So I am so excited to have you back on Robust Lifestyles again. So I hope Regina and you and I know need to continue this conversation. Regina and I will kind of wrap everything up here in a few minutes.
Perfect.
But Dawn, would you please be a guest again with Robust Lifestyle Show?
It would be my pleasure and my honor, Joyce. Thank
Well,
you.
you are so welcome. And if you have a minute, just quickly share with our listeners the best way to connect with you, Dawn.
Absolutely. So you can go to my website. It's www.dawnphoenix.org, and it's PHOENIX. And you can even set up a chat with me. We can have a play date. There's a little area where you can do the contact button and we can chat.
Oh,
Beautiful.
awesome. Thank you so much, Dawn. And I want to wish you a very magical day.
You too. All right. Regina, I'll see you in a bit. Joyce,
I'll
thank you
see you in a
so
bit, Dawn.
much.
All
It's
right.
been a pleasure. See you
Yes.
later.
Oh, Regina, this is just amazing what we have been sharing about gathering wisdom in the spaces between.
Absolutely.
It just brings so much meaning and so much, like I said, I really feel you can find that wisdom a lot of times just in the stillness. In the
Absolutely.
stillness
Yeah.
of your heart, because that's where all that wisdom lies.
It does. It's where that, like Dawn was saying, the integration, right? It's the stillness is where you receive it and integrate it, right? And then in the moments of action is where you express it, where you refine it, where you play with it, where you utilize it. And so both are really important. And I think the stillness in our current modern day gets sometimes less prioritized because of there's so much to do, there's so much to receive, that we are receiving in these kind of external ways that we forget sometimes or don't have time or don't think we have time to allow that to just be, allow it to simmer, allow it to sink in and process and to receive the deeper level of wisdom that comes from those external experiences.
Yes. Oh, how true that is. And what just came to me, it's so fitting in our title with gathering wisdom in the spaces between. There's that stillness that you can take seconds during the day to find that stillness, to gather that wisdom. The stillness is kind of fills those spaces between to gather the wisdom is what came to me. If that makes any sense. I'm not sure I explained that right, but
I think so. Say it again. Say it again.
well, to me, we're talking about gathering wisdom in the spaces between. So stillness is maybe just seconds of your day, maybe that space between where you take those seconds and gather that wisdom that is inside of you. It's laying right there in your heart, and you just have to gather it up. So I feel that stillness can be part of that spaces between to gather the wisdom.
Exactly. Right. It's the gathering space.
Mhm.
So you may or may not have heard this before. I was saying something, I can't remember what it was, and Dawn said, gracious. Oh, I said, say that again. It needs more space. And she
Yes.
said, gracious spaciousness. It is a term that I've used for a long time about really allowing things to have gracious spaciousness. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about, Joyce, is that taking the time to gather that wisdom in the spaces in between, taking that gracious spaciousness, graciousness being, allowing yourself grace to rest for a moment, to pause, to receive, but also allowing grace for the wisdom to come in. And allowing that through spaciousness, giving the spaciousness for it to live, thrive, breathe, transfer, whatever it is. When you plant plants, they need to have space to grow, right? They need to have space to expand, for the roots to expand, for their leaves to expand. And so you have to sometimes go through that process of weeding out. Not to say that that life isn't worthwhile, not to say that it doesn't have its own potential or its own worth, but in that space that you're cultivating, where are you giving the grace, right? Where are you creating spaciousness for that growth, for that evolution? And I think that's what pausing does for us in our own evolution.
Mhm. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that back up because I heard it, but it took on a whole new meaning now when you explained how gracious spaciousness has that meaning. That is, oh my, that is just beautiful. You said that so beautiful and explained it. I'm so glad
Thank
you
you.
brought those words back up because sometimes we hear things, but
Yeah.
it's not, it kind of goes through us. And then when it's
Mhm.
explained and detailed, it is so fitting to how we are gathering the wisdom.
Yeah. And so I think that that right there is an example of gathering the wisdom from the spaces in between, right? Because that happened, it was just a moment, a quick kind of, it was something she said out of because it's something that she knows, right? And it was, she was kind of confirming that for herself, like, yes, give it gracious spaciousness. It's something that she and I have a knowledge of, but you and I just took the time to gather the wisdom from those spaces between, right? That was a space between two conversations. It was a space between two thoughts that there was so much wisdom just in that one little tiny seed of wisdom. And then we went in and gathered it and expanded it. And so I think that's a tangible example of what that means to
Mhm.
gather that wisdom.
Oh, that is a beautiful example to explain to our listeners what it means on that level of gathering the wisdom. So, oh, so well said, Regina. I love
Thank you.
that.
Thanks for taking that exploration with me.
Oh, that was gorgeous. Well, we are getting very close to coming to the close of this show, and I don't know where the time went. It's just like we barely started chatting, and then Dawn needed to leave, and now the show is coming to a close.
So
And
fast.
I, if the universe wants us to share more about this, I would love to have you return with Dawn also. And we'll see
Amazing.
where it takes us. Maybe the universe wants a different message to come from the three of us. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
That's what's
And yes,
intriguing.
I would love to return and have more conversations with the two of you.
Oh, yes, I would love it too, because this was just amazing. I mean, we did bring so much wisdom into light in just a very short period of time for our
Very
listeners, is
much.
how I feel. So, well, and with that, would you please share with our listeners the best ways for them to connect with you, Regina?
Absolutely. So the best way is to go to my website, which is at Maitri.com, ATMAITRI. And on there is information about I don't know if I've ever shared this on here before. I think I may have, but I have a workshop called Charting Your Course, which walks you through identifying your personal seasons. And so I do that live every month on the 28th. And then I also have recently launched a new edition is an on-demand course that you can take it at any time. So that's very exciting. So if you're interested in learning more about your personal seasons and aligning your work and your business, your personal life too, with your personal seasons, then that would be something to check out. And it's all on my website.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. That is so awesome. And so much wisdom right there that you're going to share with others on finding their own personal seasons and how to make them work the best to make their life the best it can be. So, oh, that's
Absolutely.
beautiful. Absolutely.
Thank
Well,
you.
Regina, I want to wish you a very, very magical day, and may magic fill your days until you and I connect again on Robust Lifestyle Show.
Thank you, Joyce, and to you as well.
Oh, thank you. And I want to thank all of our listeners for listening to this magical show with our two incredible divas, Regina Curtis and Dawn Phoenix. please share the show with all your family and friends. Check out all the other hosts and their shows on divasthatcare.com. And remember some of the golden nuggets that we received today. Gracious spaciousness. That is so beautiful. And it's all to find that, gathering that wisdom to let your light shine. And we can be a prism for each other also, and be a part of your greater self. And with that, I want to wish each of you a very, very magical, magical day. Remember, be kind to all, including your animals, and give your animals a great big extra hug and share all your love with them as they so deserve it. Until we connect again on Robust Lifestyles, stay strong and healthy.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.